Whatever works for you may not work for me. What's good for you may not be something I can see. Comparing me to you will only hurt, so let's agree.
Hello, my name is Barbara Lewis with Singing After 40. Today I'm going to be interviewing Jim DUCHESNEAU, a successful educational songwriter, a former vocal student of mine, and a great friend. Jim has worked mostly as a children's educational recording songwriter. He's recorded 16 albums. He's been nominated twice for Juno Awards. He's performed over 2,000 concerts for close to 1 million people, and he's sold a ton of CDs. 7 years ago, following a series of significant losses, Jim unexpectedly spiraled into a deep suicidal depression that literally changed his life overnight. In his own words, he writes, "The past 7 years have been a crazy journey from complete desolation to the desire to write and record songs once again, as well as to do something totally out of my range of thinking, which is writing a book." Jim says he hopes that these songs, which helped him a lot during his recovery, and the story that he recounts in his book, will make it easier for someone else who's going through a similar experience. Here's the chat that I had recently with Jim. At the end, we play one of his most powerful songs. I hope you enjoy what he has to say, his music, and the interview. Hello, Jim. It's so great to see you. You're looking really good. I enjoyed reading your book so much and listening to your songs. They're beautiful, beautiful songs, and they've affected me too. You said in your book that the writing of these songs really helped you in overcoming your severe, deep depression. Can you tell us about that?
The songs actually serve two purposes. The first one is they actually got me going again on a creative basis. When I got hit with the depression, it was very severe, it was very quick, and it wiped out every ounce of meaning of anything that had ever been important to me in my life. It was hard. And one of the things it knocked out was writing songs, singing again, that whole idea. I had been writing and singing songs and recording them for 35 years. It was a long career. When it got wiped out, it was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm never going to sing again. I don't ever need to write a song again. My life is over. That's what it was. When I did start writing again, it brought a glimmer of hope back into my life. And then secondly, I ended up using these songs on a daily basis to help heal various things that I was dealing with at the moment.
When you fell first into this depression, were you able to write songs right away, or did it take a while for you to feel that desire again? And how did the desire return?
Actually,
is it a long story?
No, I'm going to keep it as short. You know me. You know the word tangent? It was created for me.
I love tangents, I know.
Yes, I'm a tangent person. I can go off on one and then go into 100 more of them.
I'm going to pull you back.
What happened is when I spiraled, I went into isolation. I didn't realize it was happening, but I isolated myself almost 100% for 2 solid years. I didn't know what else to do. I was having suicidal thoughts on a daily basis. I absolutely believed my life was over. I believed that it would be so much better for everyone around me if I wasn't there. And all of these thoughts were a result of an illness, which is severe depression. The thoughts that are created by severe depression are basically all lies.
Don't isolate yourself. Don't cut off all your ties. When life gets sad and lonely, when truth is turned to lies, don't hide yourself away. Don't do it all.
I studied psychology in university. In fact, that was sort of my major. And I had no idea there was something wrong with me. I simply knew my life was over. I slept 16 hours a day. I went to the pool almost daily, and I would swim till it hurt. Turned out I was tearing both my shoulders as I was doing the same stroke over and over. And I watched television for hours. I'd watch comedies. I'd just sit there staring at them. That's all I did for the 2 years. So no, I never thought I would write again.
And then somehow, and maybe you'll tell us, you ended up in therapy. And in therapy that led you in a whole new direction, and part of that was a musical direction.
I guess I was fortunate that something happened to me that for most people, you go, oh my God, I can't believe this happened to me. I had a heart attack while swimming in the pool one day. So that's a big thing to happen on, I guess, on a chemical basis in your brain, whatever happened. So 3 months in, 4 months in, I saw my GP one day and I said, hey, I just had the idea that maybe therapy could help me. You know, it was like, light goes on, and maybe this could possibly be of help. That was the beginning of me getting help, and that actually moved me forward slowly, but it moved me out of a very, very dark place to where I am today, much brighter place.
Don't know how I lost my vision. Don't know how I got so blind. World went gray and lost its shimmer, though the colors of life are still.
So when you did go into therapy, what happened? I think I remember the story that your therapist is the person with whom you first started to write songs again.
Actually, she became my therapist a little later on, but at the beginning, she had created a course that was offered through the mental health area of our hospital. The course was called Be Your Best Self. And I love the course. In it, she talked about, there was a session on mindfulness, another on the multiple intelligence theory, which I believe I was the first person in Canada to actually introduce the theory in 1987. So there's little bits of excitement that were occurring. But one day during the class, I thought, wow, you were an educational songwriter. Imagine if this course had songs to go with each of the sections. And it's just my brain remembering that that was something I did. And who knows, maybe I could still do it. I don't care if I ever do it again, but I could do it. And maybe it could help others. So I approached her and said, hey, we could try it. It's not going to hurt either of us if we just tried it. And we very quickly wrote 2 songs together. She's super intelligent, super talented. She has a sense of rhythm and rhyme that is just up there with the best. She read everything about psychology that they're using in today's world. So she had the language to help us write songs that could possibly work for the people in the class.
So here you are together creating these songs, and then what happened?
We actually only wrote 2 together. After that, she became ridiculously busy. So what I did is I said, how about if I just start writing the songs to go with the sections? I'll bring them to you and we'll see what you think of them. She had a great sense of going, yeah, this word doesn't work so well here. Let's move the sentence around. Let's put in a bridge. Then I'd go home and I'd record it on GarageBand, which is voice and guitar. And I started singing these songs at home. And I was so surprised because I'd sing a song 2-3 times, and whatever I was experiencing, if it was anxiety or just really deep sadness or whatever it was, I noticed that my mood would lift, and very often I would work through whatever challenge I was having.
What do you highlight? What do you tend to see? What do you highlight? In every story, what do you highlight? Is it the happy or the sad? Is it the good or just the bad?
So this is the period of time when your songs were actually healing you of your depression. Did you feel changes in your body as you listened to or performed your own songs for yourself?
I could actually feel it almost immediately. Or given I'd sing the song once or twice, and I would sense a change occurring. It was wonderful for me.
A chemical change in your body, you felt that. You must be very attuned to your body to feel that.
As we know that drugs can do the same thing. It can, people take antidepressants. I'm one of them. And that can affect what your feelings are. People will have a glass of wine, okay? 1 glass of wine, and you very quickly feel a change happening. That is a chemical change in your body. And the songs were doing the same for me.
Yeah, now you've put it in that context. I understand better that it was kind of like having a glass of wine. That's fascinating that songs, I mean, we read about this and we hear about how music can heal and how it changes us. But here's an example of it being so clear that as you listened and sang your songs to yourself, your mood, your body was changing. Can you give us an example of a song that made a big difference to you?
The first one that I noticed that quite a distinct change was a song called "Don't Isolate Yourself."
Ah,
Don't
yes.
isolate yourself. That's it. And I wrote the song because I was hoping to say to people out there, I made a mistake. First of all, I didn't even know I was isolating myself. I didn't know I had a disease. I didn't know it was treatable. I was basically in a fog. And if you can recognize that maybe you are, listen to the song. When you're very ill, you sometimes need someone to just hold your hand and hear what you have to say without judgment, but just to hear it. Therapy did that for me.
Wow.
So I wrote that very first song, and I love the melody. I like the lyrics. And interestingly enough, for the first few weeks, I would sing it on a daily basis. I would choke up because every time I sang it, because it would remind me of how lonely that 2-year period was when I didn't know I was isolating myself and I didn't know I had an illness that was treatable.
Help me remember the good times in my life, the moments that touched me in wonderful ways. Help me recall the beauty of sunsets and the sounds of love on a warm summer's day.
Farther on in your recovery from depression, is there a song that stands out for that period of your time? Don't isolate yourself as early on, something that's a little bit farther into your recovery.
There's one I used, of the 30 songs I wrote, I used all of them very often, but there was one I used over and over and over. And it's actually a technique used in psychology and therapy. It's called act as if.
Ah,
So it's sort of like the concept of, oh, just pretend you can do it. But just pretend has a negative connotation. Acting as if they believe does things to the brain that makes the brain believe, oh, I can do it. And my first one I remember doing was the fact that I could swim. So I just went, act as if you're a swimmer. I'm not a great swimmer or anything, but act as if you can do it. And I did that. After the heart attack, it was like, well, okay, act as if you're an athlete. It's anything but what I am. But I went, okay, if I act like I am one, maybe at some point I'll feel it.
Do you find yourself paralyzed, unable to move? Does your brain have you frozen, stuck in a groove? Remember to breathe, could be something you need. Just act as if and you might succeed.
I wonder if it was the act as if idea that led you into writing a book.
Oh, you bet it was. Okay, so writing a book was an absolute no-no in my brain. What happened with me in the depression is one of the first things I felt, I was probably the stupidest person in the world. I had trusted people, they betrayed me, and here I was, the result of me being just not very smart. At the same time, I knew I was creative. I could, interestingly enough, I could write 200 songs. I could record 100 and some odd of them. They were used all across the country to help kids learn French, yet I wasn't very smart. So the concept of writing the book was absolutely not. Now, I did have the idea for a book, and I went, oh, if only I could find someone to do it. The fact is, I don't know anybody who could do it. So one day I went, well, why don't you just try? And of course, you've got these, not these real voices, but you've got these answers in your head going, are you kidding? You're an idiot. You really think you can write a book? So you've written a few songs? Ha, 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 ha. You're very funny. And then the other voice saying, but why can't I just try? Didn't I just tell you? You're an idiot. It's like I had these.
What then? You got these two contrary voices happening in your head. What made you listen to the one that said, Act As If. What pushed you in that direction?
Just do it, for goodness sakes. Just sit down at your computer. And there's another concept I write about. It's called baby steps, where you
Yes.
take one tiny little step at a time. And
Yes.
we do that in everything. We don't think we do it, but from cleaning the sink. Okay, there are dishes in the sink. You can't clean them all in one fell swoop. That's just a comparison. So I went, okay, Jim, you can sit down and write a sentence. Now, many years ago, when I first decided I wanted to see if I was a songwriter, I did exactly the same thing. Now I recognize I did the same thing. I would sit down every morning at 9 o'clock. I did this for 5 months, from 9 to 3, with my guitar in one hand, a blank piece of paper, and a pen. And I would sit there and go, okay, what do you want me to write?
This is inspiring for people who want to be songwriters and don't think they can. But did you not write a song that's about taking small steps?
Yeah, it's called Start With Something Small.
If you're ever feeling low, so down and blue, that you can't even get up to tie your shoes, take a breath and count to any number you please. Do it over and over till you feel some ease.
So here I am, act as if, start with something small, and just see where it goes. If it doesn't go anywhere, what have you lost, right?
We could talk about every song because I think every one is powerful. And your book wraps around those songs so beautifully. But let's do that in our next interview. I want to ask you now, if someone came to you and said, I'm suffering what you did, a terrible suicidal depression, I don't know what to do about it. What advice would you give somebody now that you've been through this?
I'll give the advice, and I give it to anyone listening to this, to do it, to pass it on and pass it on, is first of all, don't isolate yourself.
Right.
Don't become silent, because the silence is all the thoughts going through your head, and that's all you have to live with. It narrows down your possibilities. Reach out to someone. Try to reach out to a professional if you can. If it's a friend, I actually, when I was in my worst situation, I actually reached out to you. You were the only person, you're literally the only person I intimated that something was wrong with me. You knew I wasn't working, I wasn't creating a whole lot, but you listened. That made a difference. So speak to your GP, say, you know what, I know there's something wrong with me. I'm not my normal self. I'm finding myself, everything feels dark around me, or I'm very anxious, or I'm up and I'm down, and it's like it feels crazy to me. Speak and say to the person, is it possible to get a diagnosis of what I'm experiencing? You know, if you break a leg and you think it's broken, what do? You get an x-ray. If you're not feeling too well, you go to a cardiologist and you go, hey, there's something wrong with my heart. If you're having trouble seeing, you go to an ophthalmologist, or and you say, I think my glasses aren't working. But with mental health, oh, you can't talk about that one because, first of all, maybe they'll lock me away or something.
And especially now after this whole COVID time, people are going to be suffering a lot. I think your message and your book and your songs are going to be vital for a lot of people in the next couple of years. Is your book coming out soon?
Actually, yesterday, believe it or not, it was yesterday late afternoon, I received from my editor the second complete editing, which brings the book to a point where now it can be taken to a publisher. So I'm going to reread it over the next week or two, and then it's a question of possibly finding a publisher. The songs, I was so blessed to find a producer that was right for me. Yes. About 1.5 to 2 years ago, and I started working with him, and it'll be ready for publication. So keep your fingers crossed. And if you know anyone listening to this, if you know anyone who was a tremendous publisher for mental health books, self-help books, email Barbara.
But to end this wonderful interview, and thank you so much, I want people to hear this gorgeous song, Take a Breath. It ends with kind of a meditation on taking a breath, and I've listened to it so often, and I love it. Thank you so much, Jim. It was a great interview, and I hope you'll come back.
Thank you, Barbara. Love you.
Love you too. Bye-bye.